Hi,
Hey, welcome back.
thank you. Yes, and look at your hair.
I
It was long
know.
last time.
Yeah, yeah. Last time we did this, it was, and I didn't address that with my last guest. We missed you, obviously, Kelly. Last time I had Emily Truelove was on last 2 weeks ago to talk about compliance, so that was super fun. It actually was more fun than I expected. That being said, we are live, so I should mention that I'm here with Kelly Sanchez, my regular biweekly conversation partner, about all things recruiting and or job searching, etc. We kind of do a bunch of different stuff here, but she is the head of talent acquisition for DigiCert, and of course, if you're watching this, you're on my LinkedIn. I'm Scotty John. Nice to see you all again. Kelly, we were just saying you're back. You were
Yeah.
out of town. I don't know if you want to go into any detail around that or not, but
Yeah, no, it's great. So I was out and I missed last time because my sister got married and it was a destination wedding in Cancun. So was able to take the week
awesome.
off. Thank you, DigiCert. It was great to just disconnect and be able to spend time with family and beautiful beach wedding. Yeah, it was hard to come back, honestly.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, that'll happen. Yeah, it's been an unseasonably cool and wet August here, so I'm sure a beach in Mexico was nice reprieve. Well, cool. Well, so today what we're going to be talking about, you and I, we're going to be talking about, and this was a suggestion from one of our our prior participants and or people who tune into these live. She wanted to find out a little bit more about applicant tracking systems, which are commonly referred to as ATSs, I should say. And I think the way to set this up today, Kelly, we should probably talk about some of the more common myths that we see out, among job seekers around ATSs. If anybody's watched these before, I have to mute myself, navigate to another screen, and make sure that I can track any comments and or questions that you all have as it relates to this topic. So I'm going to do that. Kelly's going to tee up she just sprung on me what the question is today, the warm-up question, so to speak. I'm still not at all sure how I'm going to answer it, but I'll figure that out and I'll be right back.
Well, Scott, you have like 30 seconds to figure it out. So, so every time we start this, Scotty is gaining more experience in his technical support skills. And I get the opportunity to ask a fun, like, icebreaker question. So for today, the question is, what is your spirit animal? So for for me, I feel like I have an advantage because I'm obsessed with this animal. And if you know me, I love llamas, love them. I am from Peru, so that is their animal. I've grown up with them, love them. And when I think of a llama, I think they're adorable. I'm adorable, funny and curious. Check, check. And we can be stubborn at times. So check. So that is my spirit animal, even though I have gotten into many arguments about the alpaca being cuter. So that's a debate for a different day, but still part of the llama family.
Wow, that's a good one. All right. Well, my spirit animal, geez. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to think at all. Oh, how funny. We did get a comment, Kelly, about llama or alpaca, and you got you had already gotten out in front of that. That's hilarious.
Yep.
And just compliments rolling in for you right now. It's awesome. I love it.
Scotty, I think you're like someone in the wilderness, like an animal, like a bear.
Yeah, well, to your point, because I do live near the wilderness, or at least near the forest.
You are in it, not near it.
So I was tempted as well to do that. But in terms of like characteristics and traits about myself, I'm going to do the most boring spirit animal you can imagine and go with a dog. And here's why.
Okay.
I'm agreeable, right? As a person. I don't shy away from confrontation, but I tend to want to be liked and to, get along. Let's all get along, diplomatic, if you will. I have, I would think I'm loyal and I smile a lot, which I feel like is the dog smile. They also wag their tail. That's like the equivalent of smiling. And, I don't know. That's about it. I'm not going to go into any more detail there. So, yeah, I know how you feel about it, Kelly, but that's my answer. Being put on the spot here. Dogs do have great heart. Thank you. I'd like to think that I do as well. Okay, getting back to the topic at hand. For those of you who, first and foremost, thanks so much for the great comments, you guys. For those of you who are joining us here live, I've got Kelly Sanchez, my bi-weekly conversation partner today. She's the head of talent acquisition at DigiCert, for those of you who don't know that already. Today, we're talking about applicant tracking systems, commonly known as ATSs. And we're going to focus on myths. I've seen a lot on LinkedIn, Kelly, I'm sure you have as well, as it relates to kind of like, these mythical applicant tracking systems that do all these different things. And we'll talk about some of the things that people believe they do. And some of it's nuanced, and there's actually some truth to some of it. Others of it is just pure nonsense. So let's jump into the single biggest myth that we've seen, and I've seen this debated, if you will, on LinkedIn, in posts, recruiters from all over the map, including places like Amazon, which, if you think about what this myth is, Amazon is one of the places where you would expect that they actually would have something like that. So the myth is that artificial intelligence is screening candidates out, right? Before any human set of eyeballs gets on a resume, there is an AI, an all-powerful AI that can just say nope and disqualify a person, send them as we call it in our industry, a disposition, right? Disposition them out of the requisition, out of the rec, with an email saying, hey, thanks, but no thanks. So Kelly, why is it a myth, and what's maybe some of the truth to it in your experience?
Right. So I would say it does not automatically, there's no robot, no AI that's like, this resume, go ahead and we're just going to decline or disposition. All employers, yes, we indicate what specific requirements from experience levels of years and all of that to then filter it, but not just like an instant rejection where a lot of people are thinking about.
Well, so in other words, and again, just to be clear, so anybody watching right now, if you're tuning in, or if you're about to tune in, you probably saw my comment. Please let us know what questions or comments you have about this. We want to hear people's experience, and we certainly, it's not just about this myth, but anything else about ATSs that you want to know. But now, getting back to what you just said, Kelly. So in other words, there is a way to set up some criteria that is absolutely necessary for a candidate to be considered. And by virtue of that, a recruiter can kind of filter the candidates that have the quote unquote right experience. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I would say that desirable or fit that particular position. Yes.
Cool. So in other words, you must have XYZ experience. If you got a little questionnaire in your job application in the ATS, if somebody doesn't have that, then they're not going to be the first people that a recruiter reviews.
No.
Indeed. Okay. Yeah. To your point, I have seen that. I think, in fact, when you and I worked together, we had something like that. I don't think we used it all that often, but that is something that, far from AI, right? But it's a tool that the ATS can provide to us recruiters to help us kind of make sure we're getting to the most qualified candidates first.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of, and we've worked in a bunch of different ATSs, you and I, throughout our years as recruiters, have you heard of any that actually do disqualify people and disposition them, like notify them that they are no longer in the mix through technology versus an actual human sending that note?
That's a good question. I would say no, because either way, the human is making that decision. It's not the robot doing it. That would be the clarification.
Yeah, exactly. So just back to it. And there's a recruiter that I follow on LinkedIn. She's pretty active on this platform, and she, I would call her a creator, if you will. She's at Amazon today, and she's pretty much debunked the myth that a company like that has some sort of AI that disqualifies candidates. Also has publicly said multiple times on this platform she's never heard of that. So that's by far the biggest myth. I don't know where it comes from, why it's so kind of prevalent, and but yeah, it doesn't exist. So in other words, there will be a human on the other end of your application. Even if that person doesn't take as much time as we'd all like to review your resume, there's somebody getting eyeballs on your resume and then making a decision on whether or not you're, the quote unquote right fit. All right, real quick. If you're joining us here today, it's Kelly Sanchez, head of talent acquisition at DigiCert. I'm of course, Scotty John. You're on my LinkedIn page. If you're watching, we're talking about common myths in the ATS systems, in the ATSs, applicant tracking systems. And we just covered AI. What else are some of the more common myths that you see out there, Kelly? Oh, by the way, please feel free to ask questions, make comments in the comment section here on LinkedIn if you have them, because I know, again, this is a topic that there are a fair bit of opinions about. So what other myths do we have out there?
The other one that I hear a lot is the formatting. ATS ruins my resume's formatting. And so I know a lot of them, it's Word, PDF are the pretty common ones. But again, me and Scott were talking earlier, hey, Word is supposed to be better from my perspective. And then Scotty's saying that PDF. So yes, definitely formatting is one that I hear. And the reason I'm going to tell you why I think Word is better. It's because with PDF, there's sometimes images that they don't see through, that don't come through. But with a Word, you're able to pull out the header, the footer, and everything kind of synchronized. Or in PDF, it's all like an image where it can pull out the font, but maybe you have an image with font in it, and that could get skewed or missed. But I would love to hear your side for PDF.
Yeah. So to your point, we had this, I was like, so PDF is obviously the common, that's the one you should do, right? That's the commonly held. This is what's funny about recruiting is that there's not as much standardization across this industry as we might like there to be, right? I don't have any actual rationale. In fact, you might have just sold me on why a Word document is better. but I've commonly heard that PDFs are better, quote unquote, better to upload your resume into an ATS. And again, because the formatting of a Word document might just come in not the way you set it up. And you obviously, if you're a job seeker, you spend a lot of time on your resume. But yeah, I mean, the reality is it doesn't matter. It could be either. It could be either one of those documents. Oftentimes they're uploaded as attachments. And yes, there are some ATSs that kind of try to put them into a place for us recruiters to view that's not necessarily having to open an attachment. But it doesn't really matter. Like, it's just a myth that either one is better. Again, evidenced by the fact that we've heard two totally different things about it, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'll say it's very rare, honestly, from the team in reviewing resumes that we get a really weird format. And if we do, the recruiter should reach out to the candidate via email and ask for them to email it directly as well to be reviewed. So
indeed. No, I think that's great advice. And on that note, with regard to, an application in an applicant tracking system, the individual who recommended or suggested this topic had a question about, how it works on our side of things with regard to hiring managers seeing applications and or attachments, documents, et cetera, from candidates. Every company, does this a little bit differently, but generally speaking, recruiters are the ones who see that stuff and hiring managers do not. It's kind of up to us to be the first line of defense. Some may call it a gatekeeper. I don't really have strong feelings about that word. I'd say it's fair that we're gatekeepers because, if it was going directly to the hiring manager, in my mind, that's a lot for them to review, right? And that kind of, in some ways, defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do. One of the tasks that recruiters are trying to do. So that being said, there are some companies that have hiring managers go through, take a look at all the resumes, select the ones they want the recruiters to screen, and then, the recruiter screens and whomever passes that screen goes on to the first round interview with the hiring manager. So it's totally dependent on the company and how they have it set up. Any thoughts or kind of, in disagreement and or things to add to that, Kelly?
I'll say like every ATS system is universally the same, but they do have different features. But at the end of the day, it's there to track the applicant, their information, the resume, the cover letter, maybe any additional things. So what we're able to view, the hiring leader is also able to view. But like Scotty said, our role is to be that first point of contact and review applications that are qualified for the position, moving that forward. However, also like Scotty mentioned, there are hiring managers that will review every resume as well, and then tell the recruiting team, I want to screen that. But from an attachment perspective, all of that is included on your profile. It's not hidden. It's not going somewhere different. It's all there with your profile.
Indeed. Yeah. And again, maybe should have started with kind of a high level definition. I think that the name implies what we're talking about here, but an applicant tracking system is just like any, like any other kind of software, with the sole purpose of tracking, like Kelly said, people who've applied to a given job posting. Now there are some, and especially in my industry, which is third-party recruiting, where I don't really have many jobs posted, and I don't rely a ton on applicants. We have what's closer to more like a CRM system, though it does have some ATS functionality to it as well. But for a company like DigiCert, or a company like CHG, where we used to work together, it's going to be an applicant tracking system. And there, of course, are all different brands, all different kinds of these. But to your point, Kelly, I've yet to see one that did. They all kind of have a similar functionality, right? So it looks like we've had a few people join. So just want to mention really quick. Okay, so we have a question actually that I want to clarify before I do this. The question is, are the attachments always sent to the hiring manager? The answer is, I think that the short answer is no. And the reason for that is because, like we were talking about, as recruiters, we qualify a job with a hiring manager, try to understand what good looks like. And then depending on the organization, oftentimes it's up to us to determine who should be sent to the hiring manager. So again, there are some organizations, there are some hiring managers who want to see all of the resumes that come through regardless, and then make the decision and have the recruiters do the screens. But that's kind of up to the company's discretion, and it's different everywhere. So I would say, as a blanket answer to your question, no, the attachments are not always sent to the hiring manager. Anything to add there, Kelly?
Yeah, no, I think you covered it. Great.
Cool. So again, we've got some folks that have joined. I just want to mention Kelly Sanchez, head of talent acquisition at DigiCert, and of course me, Scotty John, talking about applicant tracking systems, talking about some common myths. We'll get into here in a little bit perhaps some recommendations, but we've covered AI so far, and we've covered kind of like the keyword, or no, we haven't done that yet. We've covered formatting. So I just spoiled it.
You blew it.
Moving on to the next common myth in this, about ATSs, and that is keyword stuffing, as you might call it. So there's a couple of things here. So one, candidates feeling like if I put a bunch of keywords in that I see on the job description or that I know about this particular position, just somewhere on my resume, including perhaps hidden in like a white text section, then I'm going to game the system and rise to the top. Kelly, why is that a myth?
Because it doesn't happen. If anything, your resume is going to be seen eventually by a human, and we're going to see all of those like excellent sales or, high performance, whatever those keywords are. And it doesn't make any sense in the context of it. And just to give you more from Scotty mentioned the white text, and this always like just boggles my mind because again, it's people think keywords. If I'm putting these keywords that's on the job description, I'm putting out my resume is going to be seen first. So there have been people that have taken that whole job description and added it to their resume, put it in white font so it doesn't see it. So it's not visible to the eye. However, the computer could pick it up. No, it's not going to work. And anything is going to make it too wordy. So do you want to go into the recommendations of what to do?
Yeah, for sure. But before I do, I just want to mention, and perhaps for you and I, Kelly, this would seem needless to say, but what you just described, which has absolutely happened, I think you and I both have experienced it, where somebody has hidden the job description for the job they're applying for in white text. That's going to be a question mark for me and for Kelly and for hiring managers as to like, are you trying to pull one over here, right? Like it's almost a question of personal integrity at that point. And so it's a net negative. Don't do that. In other words, that'd be the first recommendation I would have, because again, there's not going to be some sort of filter before a human. And if we happen to catch that somehow, then, which often happens because the formatting, that's where a formatting of a resume might get weird, right? Yeah. And then it's like, this is not cool. So it goes back to the AI piece in some ways, but majority of the time, the resumes or the applications come in chronological order. So if you want yours to be seen first, the best way is to apply early, but you can't always do that. I mean, if you have alerts set up for a particular type of role at a company, et cetera, maybe you can be one of the first to apply. They just come in chronological order. We're going to view them as they come in. So again, perhaps a recommendation, if you want to ensure that your application is viewed, apply early, but otherwise with keyword stuffing, keyword searching, right? Am I losing you, Kelly?
It was kind of getting choppy a little bit.
It's always good to go live and then not have, dang it. It's not the best look for a live when your internet's unstable. I think I'm back. So what are some recommendations instead of keyword stuffing?
Yeah, so I would say, I guess don't overstuff, definitely cater your resume to the job description, find out what's important and critical, and add that to your resume. And this is the key point. If you have that experience, don't just add it to be viewed, because again, we're going to interview you. We're going to ask you the question. And if you're like, oh, actually I don't have any experience in that, then again, what Scotty said, that's going to be a net negative, like always be truthful, add the keywords that are critical if you have the experience.
Yep. No, I couldn't have said it any better. There's a cottage industry out there of coaches and resume writers, etc. And I know some of them, and they're all great people. And I'm sure there's value that can be added in what they do. But at the end of the day, my personal opinion about what good
do.
I think we lost the live.
Did we? No,
I
you're
don't know.
back. I can hear you now. I don't know if it's me or if it's you.
Okay, I'm certain it's me. But anyway, yeah, I think we might have lost it because I'm not seeing it on the other. So if anybody's having to listen to me and Kelly talk about if we lost our live feed, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. But I'm gonna wrap this up, Kelly, and I'm gonna add in the comments some of what
round two, because I feel like there's other myths that we didn't get to.
For sure. So again, if there are people out there watching right now, watching us discuss how we're probably no longer live, apologies. We are gonna we'll probably do a round two. We'll think about it a little bit. I'll put some comments in the comment section. But if there are people still watching us, thanks so much for being here. Kelly Sanchez, head of talent acquisition at DigiCert. Scotty John, see you next time.
Bye.